Your Excellency Senators, Honorable Minister, distinguished panelists, dear guests, friends, I'm very happy to be here today, and thank you to DawnMedia Group and to Dr. Ziba who invited me to this event. So Dr. Ziba mentioned the Population Summit in 2015. So out of curiosity, I actually pulled out her presentation at that time. And at that time, projections estimated Pakistan's population would reach 342 million people by 2050. So fast forward 10 years, and the picture we see today is much, much worse. The population growth is a barrier to human and economic development, and it interacts with the climate change, as Minister Aurangzeb very eloquently put together, and also Senator Sherry Rahman mentioned water scarcity, food insecurity, and I would also mention malnutrition and poverty, which are factors are very important for the World Bank. I have only like 5 slides. So first slide was with Dr. Ziba's projections, and we see today these projections are much worse. Next slide, please. Fertility, we already talked about fertility, so I will not talk much. I would only say that we have seen different numbers. My numbers are much higher, 3.6 children per woman in Pakistan, and which is higher than in South Asia. We already saw comparisons with India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. But I also compared them with some of the countries in Middle East. Still, Pakistan comes much higher. And the numbers are different, so I actually stepped out and talked with my colleague and a colleague from FCGO. We need to come up with the same numbers, so the policy makers like Minister of Finance and others in the Population Council and Population Task Force can have same numbers they can work on. But the conclusion is the same. The Pakistan's fertility rates are much, much higher than other countries in the neighborhood. Dr. Zeba also mentioned unplanned births. From 12.7 million pregnancies in Pakistan, almost half of them are unwanted. So this highlights a critical gap between demand for family planning and the availability of services. And this gap has to be closed very, very quickly. Let me now turn to the partnership strategy that the World Bank and the government of Pakistan have agreed on. Yeah, so these are 6 outcome areas, and I agree with Minister of Finance. We need to focus on the results. So in this very selective country partnership framework, we only focused on 6 areas, and one is stunting, and we know that about 40% of children in Pakistan are stunted. And it means that children cannot learn. However, 26 million children aged 5 to 16 are already out of school. And those who are in school, 4 in 5 children cannot read the basic text by age of 10. So that's why we're focusing in our country partnership framework on reducing stunting and reducing learning poverty. These are the first two areas. The next area is climate change and resilience. Then we have investments in energy and quality of air. Then fifth area is more stable macroeconomic situation and better public spending. And the last area is private sector development. And as Minister of Finance already mentioned, this is an unusual document. In many countries, we have 5-year plans. In Pakistan, with the agreement with the government, we decided on much longer commitment. It's a 10-year plan, and we attached the number, $20 billion. So every year, we promise to provide about $2 billion in financing. And that's not including the investments from the private sector. We have a sister organization called IFC, and another 20 billion is expected from the private sector to support the implementation of the CPF. Another 20 billion. So altogether 40 billion for the next 10 years. But this is not only about money, it's about policies. And talking about the population growth, we also need to talk about opportunities. 60% of population of Pakistan is under 30, and I was sitting next to the ambassador of Thailand, he left now. He was saying that we have an opposite problem in Thailand. We have an aging population. That's the same for many countries, including my country also, Mongolia. So there is actually a potential for the demographic bonus or dividend, but it's a potential. It's unrealized until you educate people, until you provide them skills and jobs, then you have the demographic dividend. Until then, it can actually turn to demographic liability. We talked about fertility rate, but if we reduce the fertility rate from 3.6 today to 2.2, which is kind of average in South Asia, per woman by 2030, the payoff is enormous. By 2050, the GDP growth could reach 5%. All other things being equal, just reducing the fertility rate to 2.2 could bring the GDP growth to 5%. And that's 50% higher than business as usual scenario. You see it's on the graph. Under this path, per capita income would more than double. Today, the per capita income in Pakistan is 181,000 Pakistani rupees. It could double, even more than double, to 443,000 by 2050. And the cost of inaction is also immense, the opposite side of the coin. Pakistan needs 2.6 million jobs every year until 2050. Again, we have some different numbers, depends on the source, it depends on methodology, but we need millions of jobs just to absorb this youth bulge. So what are the key kind of asks, I would say, from this group? First, strong political commitment and governance. Dr. Zeba already mentioned about the golden age when population growth was more managed and looked much better than today. So maybe we can look up the policies which were implemented at the time and modify if needed, and then commit and implement. We need to invest and improve quality and access to family planning, and I will not dwell too much on this because the previous speakers and Jane also mentioned that the fertility rate, reducing the fertility rate helps actually to delay the first pregnancy, and the lifetime pregnancy number per woman also decreases if the fertility rate goes down. And there are Pakistan's current per capita spending for family planning is quite low. It's 163 Pakistani rupees per person, which is much below the WHO recommended level of 465 rupees per capita. Investments needed for universal access to contraceptives, and Jane also mentioned that the need to not to tax with contraceptives, so they are cheaper and probably or even better free. And there are some excellent examples in the neighborhood that Pakistan can learn from. Bangladesh was very successful in taking the family planning services to doorsteps. So female health workers, which are also exist in Pakistan, in Bangladesh they visit homes offering counseling and contraceptives, and that helps to bridge the trust, to bring trust and overcome some cultural barriers, and that policy and use of health workers was very, very successful. Iran actually made family planning as a national priority by integrating premarital counseling into their health system. And every couple who is married, they have to go through the counseling before the marriage. Indonesia, where I was posted before, it's now the 4th populous country in the world, and I was a little bit scared to hear today that maybe Pakistan will overtake Indonesia in near future. So Indonesia dramatically reduced fertility by embedding family planning into their national development agenda. They invested heavily in education and empowerment of women and girls. By constitution, Indonesia spends 20% of their funds into education. So a multi-sectoral approach is needed to foster human development and economic growth. This means investing in early childhood development, ensuring foundational learning, timely school enrollment, strong literacy in numeracy skills. In conclusion, I just want to say that population growth remains one of the most pressing challenges for Pakistan. As Minister of Finance said, it's one of the existential problems that need to be solved. Family planning is not just a health intervention, it's a fundamental right. Every woman has to have information, access, and choices to make informed decisions about their health, their family, and number of children. Without managing population growth, sustainable human capital and inclusive growth will be out of reach. By investing in human capital, the foundations for healthier families, resilient communities, and more prosperous Pakistan will be put in place, and World Bank stands ready to support the government in this endeavor. Thank you very much.